So, in today's episode, in today's training, we're going to be talking about, surprise, surprise, LinkedIn content. But the big premise of today is why your content fails on other platforms, i.e., Meta, maybe YouTube, TikTok, but how that content would actually thrive on LinkedIn. So we're going to go over a few different reasons why, if you haven't really started going all in with your LinkedIn content, why you should. But before we do that, we're excited to announce that we have a free 3-day workshop coming up at the end of this month. Can't believe it's March already. It is from March 23rd to March 25th. That is a Monday through a Wednesday, 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern Time, live and recorded. And it is called the LinkedIn Content Roadmap. So, what we're going to be doing in this workshop is we're going to be breaking down for anyone that attends exactly what you need to do as far as laying down the foundational um, content for your own personal LinkedIn roadmap, as far as getting more visibility and eyeballs on your content, which could lead to more leads and more sales and business growth. So if you're watching on social, whether that's Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, just type the word me in the comments and we will send you the link to get yourself registered. If you are listening on the podcast, super easy. The description of this episode has the link so you can get yourself registered there. So, Nance,
Yes.
why do some people's content fail on the other platforms? But more importantly, let's explain to everybody why that content would actually thrive on LinkedIn.
Well, I'm a huge fan of being intentional, right, with everything that we do. And what I'll say is, I know there are a lot of people out there who are like, oh, you got to get on TikTok, you got to get on Instagram, you got to be on Facebook. I think it's very important because I do think that a lot of those platforms are effective, right, for certain types of businesses and certain people. I think it's great for, getting eyeballs and some visibility and things like that. But when I go back to it, I said the word intention, right? What is your intention when you're posting content? And, for a lot of people that we work with, right? We work with a lot of people who are coaches, consultants, service providers that do have higher ticket services, right? These are services where you're doing a lot of stuff on the front end to network, to connect, right? To build relationships, to build that trust and credibility. And here's the thing, when we show up on TikTok and we do dances, okay, and we run around, of course, that's a great way, for people to kind of get to know us. But sometimes we attract the wrong attention. We attract people who aren't necessarily in a place to make a purchase or make decisions, that would be relevant for the type of business or services that you have. So where I think, okay, some of those platforms might be valuable, sure, right? Do some of them have their perks? But why LinkedIn really works and why it is the platform that we highly recommend. I mean, I am a huge fan of doing one thing, right? That can do a lot of things for me, right? If I'm going to do one thing, I'm going to really kind of try to kill multiple birds with one stone. I hate that, analogy, but like, whatever it is. But like, I really do feel like, posting our content on LinkedIn, showing up, optimizing our profile, doing all those things, to me, that is a much better time spent, than posting a couple TikTok, posts that I want to go viral because of all the things it does behind the scenes. Right. So having your content out there, we talk about it all the time, right? Newsletters, for example, on LinkedIn, which are just articles, whenever we really break it down, someone who is searching on Google, for example, or they could even be searching within AI, you have the opportunity to have your articles and your newsletters on LinkedIn pop up and appear in those searches. How cool is that? Right? So the people who are actually looking for what it is that you have in regular search, you're popping up. Okay. So to me, I just feel like we've got to get very intentional with what we're doing. We're not just posting because it's what we feel like we should do or what everyone else is doing. We've got to be intentional and we've really got to focus on a platform that really you get more value and you get more traction for your business out of. And so that's why I really feel that LinkedIn is the platform to be.
Yeah, the other thing that I want to just clarify for people is LinkedIn is one of those platforms that people have forgotten about. And it's really interesting at this point. I've been educating and teaching how to leverage LinkedIn now for almost 14 years. And there are still a ton of people that don't utilize it. Um, it's not optimized, and they think it's still like monster.com. They think it's just like any other platform.
Yeah, for hiring, right?
Right.
Like just for jobs. Yeah.
And it's not. LinkedIn is that platform for business and brand visibility. And here's the thing, thought leadership, I know for some people that's kind of a buzzword, but people want to work with specialists, not generalists. And if you want to talk about how to stand out from the crowd, it's it's really difficult to do that on the other platforms. It's really hard to stand out on Meta, Facebook and Instagram. It's really hard to stand out on YouTube. There's so much content, right? And that's not to say that there's not a lot of content going out on LinkedIn. But so many transactions are taking place right now. I mean, millions and millions and millions of dollars is being passed back and forth because 88% of the LinkedIn contingency are people in a decision-making role, 12% being the providers of those services. So if you're a coach, if you're a consultant, if you're a service professional, this is not only your lead gen system, but this is your sales system all in one. So I just wanted to kind of throw that in there as well.
Yeah, and I just feel like, for service professionals, right? Because this is very important. We need to market ourselves and we need to show up differently than those who have product-based businesses. We are in the market of building and connecting and forming relationships and working with individuals, one-on-one. And we want to help them solve problems. I mean, really, when it comes down to it, right, that's what business is. We're solving problems. And when you have a platform like LinkedIn that allows you to showcase, right, your recommendations, all the people that you've worked with, basically your resume, your whole entire personal brand in one platform. Oh my gosh, right? And I always talk about it, every single person has a personal brand, and we have the luxury to be able to control that. And when people search for my name, I know I want to put my best foot forward. And LinkedIn allows you to do that. And so, again, higher engagement rates on LinkedIn whenever it comes to, posting content that is thought leadership content and, showcasing your expertise in solving problems. You have a longer shelf life, even like I said, with your newsletters and articles, right? Those have the opportunity to show up time and time again just by people searching for them. So just like YouTube, right, which is a platform that we also really like, your content still stays relevant to those who need it. The algorithm right now rewards people for actually engaging and connecting. Like, holy cow, they want you to start conversations. They want you to naturally start to network and connect. So, if I know that I can be on a platform where I can have strategic visibility, right? I can get seen by the right people. I know that I can post content, I can get myself out there, I can build trust, right? That's going to help me bridge that gap and close, my cold leads quicker, and that I can build an engine, right? We call it the LinkedIn growth engine of consistency, where I can actually post, I can reach out, I can network and engage, and I can start building and generating leads more consistently than relying on referrals and just, one-offs or, random people who are commenting on a TikTok post or whatever it might be. Holy cow, right? Because when I talk about the service industry, especially the one-on-one, people who are working, coaches, consultants, things like that, one of the biggest pain points I hear from you guys is I want consistent revenue. I want consistent conversations. I want leads. Well, on LinkedIn, you're able to do that. It's such a plug and play process. And you guys know that that is what we teach, right? That's what we talk about each and every episode. We're talking about how to use LinkedIn to really grow your business, showcase you as the expert, and show up in a way where you are building trust, you're being found. Eyeballs are now on you, and people understand what the heck you do and how they can hire you. So, I want to also close, before we kind of end the episode, I want to talk about a couple mistakes that people make who do transition right over from TikTok and Facebook
I
and
know
some of these
one,
other
I know
platforms.
one, I know
Yeah, and I'm
one.
going to let Scott kind of like run this one because
Well, no, no.
it is
There's only one that I noticed, and it's people
okay.
that literally copy and paste their Instagram posts that have 35,000 hashtags on them, and you see people post their content, and we've talked about this in prior episodes and trainings. LinkedIn only likes three hashtags at the most in your content. One that is clearly directly linked to your business. So I would use the hashtag the time to grow, which is the company that Nancy and I run. I would also use hashtag LinkedIn tips, which that's what they all are, or LinkedIn education. So don't hit that easy button just because you've written that content out. You do have to abide by what works and what doesn't work on the social platform. So one of the big, and it's such a red, like I can see it from a mile away. I can see people are just literally just copying and pasting.
Yeah,
Hence,
yeah, absolutely. And also the other thing is being incredibly spammy.
yeah.
You know, I see people, jumping in and saying, buy my thing, do my thing, or they're using LinkedIn to message and automate and add all these third-party bots, because they think, right, oh yeah, I've got a little bot that does all this for me on Instagram or on Facebook or whatever. Guys, it's not the same. You can't use it like that. You're going to end
Nope.
up burning relationships and bridges and connections that could have been game changers for your business when you're instituting these things, when there's only so many activities you can do on LinkedIn each and every day. And to be honest with you, what we teach, you can do it all under 20 minutes a day.
Yeah, and the big
So
thing is you can't comparing LinkedIn to other platforms is like comparing apples to bowling balls. It just doesn't align. And the other thing is when you only have to post 3 days a week on a platform like LinkedIn compared to if you think about if you're watching anyone that's like giving tips on Facebook or Instagram, right? They tell you on Facebook you got to post at least 2 to 4 times a day, right? You got to post in the morning, afternoon, and evening. Then you get into Instagram, right? Then they tell you you got to add to your story at least 3 or 4 times during the day, and you need some sort of post or reel once a day. It becomes so over consuming in the sense of how much you have to create. And the beautiful thing about LinkedIn is that if you just post either Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and LinkedIn has their own content scheduler built in. So part of the framework of what we teach is to work smarter, not harder. So picking a theme for the week, choosing three different forms of content, whether that be a text post, an image text post, a carousel post, a poll, a short form video, long form video, a newsletter, a poll, whatever it is. You just pick your three, theme it out, pre-schedule them, and now you have that time to do all of the things that you should be doing on LinkedIn, which is connecting, engaging, building relationships. And just to kind of finish with this, and I'll turn it back to Nancy, when LinkedIn releases their quarterly reports, which everyone has access to, I highly advise you guys to read them because they're letting you know what is and what is not working on LinkedIn. And the last quarterly report, actually the last two quarterly reports, both had increases in people engaging in the comments of people's content. The one quarter, it was up 30%. And the quarter after that, it was up 24% from the previous quarter. So it grew 54% in 6 months. So that is telling you that people are not just quote unquote hanging out on LinkedIn like other platforms. People are on there to engage, to be nurtured, to build relationships with because it is relational marketing, right? The more relationships that you build, the greater of a business opportunity you're going to have.
absolutely. And, I'll say it and I'll say it and I'll say it again. if you're not on LinkedIn and you're not posting content consistently, you should be. Okay. And again, I hang my flag on that. Like I feel that every single business owner, every single service professional, everyone who really wants to, again, like I said, control your personal brand and what you're putting out there and how you're showing up when people search for you, got to be on LinkedIn. So we would like to invite you, like Scott had mentioned, we're doing a free LinkedIn content roadmap workshop. We talk about getting clients. We talk about posting the right kind of content. We talk about LinkedIn and what kind of content is really working right now. And the fun part about it is, guys, this is very interactive. We love to kind of pull, the members and the people who join our workshops to customize it, to make it unique to everyone who joins. So if you guys have already been a part of our workshop before, get ready. We're going to do this one again. And of course, we're going to do a new spin every time we do it. We will be talking about all things LinkedIn content. You guys will walk away, you better believe, right, with some actionable homework, actionable items where you can jump right in and start posting content on LinkedIn and feel confident about it. So if you want to check that out, we'll drop the link in the description. We will also obviously have it on our website at thetimetogrowcom. You can just click on our workshop button and access it there as well.
Yep. And if you're watching on social, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, just type the word me in the comments and we will personally send you the link to get yourself registered. So we hope to see you at the workshop later this month, which is from March 23rd to the 25th from 12 to 1 Eastern, live and recorded. So everyone, please enjoy the rest of your days. Love and gratitude, and we'll talk to you next time.
Bye bye.